Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to take a deep breath and ask yourself, can one man, one renegade billionaire turned president, truly win a trade war with the world's factory, the economic juggernaut that is China? There's a question echoing across trading floors, political rallies, and the dimly lit corridors of power. A question whispered in boardrooms and screamed across television panels. Can one man, armed with bravado, sharp suits, and a Twitter account, bend the will of the world's largest manufacturing powerhouse? Can he stare down the dragon and win? This isn't a polite negotiation over fine wine and soft music. This is a fist fight in a dark alley where the streetlights don't work and the rules change every 10 minutes. This is not a trade disagreement. This is an economic cage, fight America versus China. A clash between the brash and the disciplined, between speed and endurance, between impulse and calculation. You see, when you strip away the headlines, the hashtags, and the heated commentary, you're left with a battlefield that doesn't care about ego. The numbers don't care about who you voted for. The markets don't care about patriotism. They respond to power, leverage, and the cold, calculated math of survival. And make no mistake, Trump came into this fight swinging. Tariffs became his weapon of choice. Steel, aluminum, electronics. Nothing was off the table. The message was clear. We're done playing nice. For a while it worked. Markets trembled. Global CEO broke into cold sweats, and allies whispered quietly, he might actually pull this off. But then came the counterpunch. China doesn't shout. China doesn't panic. China watches, measures, waits, and when it moves with surgical precision. Retaliatory tariffs, supply chain redirection. Strategic partnerships with nations who'd love to watch America sweat. They play the long game. They can take short-term pain if it means long-term dominance. Their economy is a state-backed machine. Their leadership doesn't face elections every 4 years. They don't have to explain their decisions to a restless electorate or a 24-hour news cycle. And that is a massive advantage. Because here's the truth most people don't want to say out loud. Trade wars are not won by whoever shouts the loudest. They're won by whoever bleeds the slowest. The American economy, for all its power, is built on consumer confidence. Shake that confidence, raise prices on everyday goods, and the ripple effect is immediate. Voters get angry, investors get nervous, and nervous investors move money. Fast, China. Their consumer market is growing, but their power lies in their manufacturing muscle and their grip on global supply chains. They can reroute production. They can find new buyers. They can endure. So, can Trump win a trade war with China? It depends on what you mean by win. If winning is about dominating the news cycle, making markets jump, rallying domestic support, he's already done that. If winning means forcing China to completely surrender its economic ambitions, good luck. That's not a trade war outcome. That's a fantasy. This isn't about one man. This is about two economic titans locked in a battle where every move has consequences that ripple around the globe. A decision made in Washington can close a factory in Malaysia. A policy shift in Beijing can raise the price of your phone in New York. The world is watching because this isn't just about America and China. This is about the future of global power. Whoever emerges from this struggle will dictate the rules of trade for the next generation. And those rules won't be written in kindness. They'll be written in dominance. But here's the part nobody talks about. Trade wars create casualties you never see on the front page. Farmers crushed by retaliatory tariffs. Small businesses priced out of competition. Workers laid off because the cost of raw materials skyrocketed overnight. The human cost is invisible until it's your paycheck, your job, your family. And that's why this fight is dangerous. It's not fought in a single arena. It's fought in thousands of quiet, desperate moments in lives far removed from the halls of power. The question isn't just whether Trump can win a trade war with China. The question is, can America win it without breaking itself in the process? Can China win without pushing the world into a recession? Because when titans fight, the earth shakes, and everyone standing on it feels the tremors. Pause. Let the silence bite. Here's the uncomfortable truth. This fight won't end with a handshake and a press conference. It'll end with quiet shifts in power, with new alliances, with a new economic order that looks nothing like the one we've known for decades. And history will remember it not for the tweets or the tariffs, but for the tectonic shift it caused in the balance of power. So don't be distracted by the noise. Watch the moves. Watch the supply chains. Watch where the money goes when no one's talking about it. That's where the real story is written. And when the dust settles, the world will not ask who shouted the loudest. The world will ask who adapted, who endured, who emerged stronger when the storm passed. Because in war, trade or otherwise, it's not the loudest who wins. It's the last one standing. Long pause. Step back. Now. The question isn't whether he can win. The real question is, are we ready for what happens if he does? Or if he doesn't, imagine this. Two men standing on opposite ends of a colossal chessboard. Not a board of wood and marble, but one made of steel, silicon, and oil. Every square on that board is a factory, a shipping lane, a contract, a commodity. And every move is felt by billions of people who have no idea the game is even being played. On one side, a man with a taste for the spectacle. He makes his moves in broad daylight. He talks as he plays. Loud, unapologetic, sometimes unpredictable, his pawns are tariffs. His rooks are trade restrictions. His knights, those sudden, sweeping policy shifts, leap over all expectations. He's not here to play by the book. He's here to rewrite it. On the other side, a man, or rather, a machine. A quiet, calculating presence. No sudden movements. No wasted words. The moves come slow, deliberate, almost invisible. But each one is part of a design that stretches not across months, but decades. His pawns are factories. His bishops are long-term contracts with resource-rich nations. His queen, the supply chain that wraps around the planet like a steel serpent. Now the world watches this match. The crowd cheers at the bold, theatrical strikes of the loud player. Headlines erupt. Markets shake. Commentators say, "Look at the pressure he's applying. Look at how the other side is forced to respond." But those who understand the game know. You don't win chess by impressing the crowd. You win by outlasting your opponent. And here's the twist. This isn't even chess. This is trench warfare dressed up in a suit. Every tariff is a bullet. Every counter-tariff is return fire. Every business forced to close is a soldier lost in the field. You see, when nations fight with trade, the battlefield isn't the land between them. It's the daily lives of their people. Picture a small town farmer in Iowa who wakes up one morning to find his soybeans have no buyer because of retaliatory tariffs. Picture a factory worker in Shenzhen who sees orders slowed down, hours cut, because a market halfway around the world has been closed off. These are the invisible battlefields, and the casualties here don't get medals. They get bills they can't pay. Now, our bold player, the one who thrives on spectacle, knows something very well. Pressure creates cracks. He's betting that his opponent will crack first, that the economic pain will force them to the table on his terms. He's betting that his unpredictability will throw them off balance. But his opponent has a different kind of armor. Patience, endurance, a system that can absorb losses without immediate political collapse. They can take the hit today for the win tomorrow. They know that storms pass, but infrastructure remains. And while the world is watching the noise, they're busy reinforcing the parts of their economy that will make them untouchable in the future. It's like two boxers in a ring. One throws flurries of punches, fast, aggressive, trying to end the fight in the early rounds. The other covers up, takes the hits, looking for that one moment when the opponent's arms grow heavy, when the breathing slows, when the fire turns to fatigue. That's when the real damage is done. The danger, of course, is that in this fight there is no referee. No bell to end the round, no neutral corner to retreat to. Both sides just keep swinging. And when you fight long enough, the fight changes you. For America, the risk is that the consumer confidence it depends on will start to erode under the weight of higher prices and market uncertainty. For China, the risk is that their growth engine could slow just enough to spark unrest at home. Both know the stakes. Both know this is about far more than tariffs. It's about setting the rules for how the next era of global trade will be played. The match will not end with a slam of a gavel or a signature on a page. It will end when one side realizes that the cost of continuing outweighs the value of winning. It will end when the story changes from confrontation to adaptation. And here's the part that should keep you awake at night. When this fight is over, the world will not look the same. Supply chains will be redrawn. Alliances will shift. Economies will realign. And we, the spectators, will have to live in the world those new rules create. So while the cameras zoom in on the next move, the next statement, the next round of tariffs, remember, this is not a game of sudden victories. This is a war of attrition. The kind where you don't always notice who's winning until the other side simply stops moving. And when that moment comes, it will not be because of a single dramatic move. It will be because of 1,000 small ones, played quietly, relentlessly, until the end was inevitable. The loud player will walk away with the applause. The quiet player will walk away with the board. The real question isn't who will win. The real question is, when they do, will the rest of us even recognize the world they live in? Pause, slow step back, because in this kind of fight, victory doesn't look like triumph. It looks like survival, and survival, my friends, is the most dangerous kind of power. This is not a policy debate. This is not a polite disagreement between gentlemen and tea. This is an economic collision, a head-on crash between two titans. One is brash, loud, and relentless. The other is silent, calculating, and patient. And the world is holding its breath. Pause. Slow inhale. Trump walks into this fight with the swagger of a street brawler. He doesn't negotiate quietly. He announces his punches before he throws them. Tariffs here, restrictions there. Tweets that move markets in real time. It's theater, but it's also war. Pause. A slow half-mile. And then there's China. They don't flinch. They don't react for the sake of reacting. They study, they measure, they absorb, and when they respond, it's never about making noise. It's about making a point. Counter tariffs. Supply chain shifts, strategic alliances. Every move is deliberate. Pause. Lean forward. This is not a game of speed. This is a game of endurance. You see, in trade wars, you don't win by throwing the biggest punch. You win by being the last one still standing when the other side is too exhausted to continue. Pause. Let it sink. America's economy thrives on confidence. When that confidence is shaken, when prices rise, when businesses stall, when the average family feels the squeeze, the pressure doesn't just stay in the marketplace. It moves to the voting booth. It pushes leaders to make choices they might otherwise avoid. Pause. Shift tone to quieter. China knows this. They know America's pain threshold is different from theirs. They can ride out the storm longer because their system allows it. No election cycles breathing down their necks. No 24-hour news cycle screaming for answers. They can take the hit today for the win tomorrow. Pause. Almost whisper. That's their greatest weapon time. Pause. Straighten up. So can Trump win. If winning means dominating headlines, he's already done it. If winning means disrupting the way trade has been done for decades, mission accomplished. But if winning means forcing China to bend completely, that's not victory, that's fantasy. Pause. Because here's the reality no one wants to face. Trade wars are messy. They create collateral damage in places far from the battlefield. A farmer in Iowa who can't sell his crops. A factory worker in Guangdong whose hours are cut. A family paying 20% more for the same products they bought last year. These are the real scars of a trade war. Pause. Voice heavier. And the longer it lasts. The deeper those scars become, pause, take a breath. You see, this isn't just about tariffs and counter-tariffs. It's about shaping the next chapter of global power. It's about who will write the rules for the 21st century economy. It's about dominance, not just in trade, but in influence, technology, and ideology. Pause, scanning the room. The loud player may win the applause. The quiet player may win the war. Pause. But here's the thing. Both sides will pay. The question is, who is willing to pay longer? Who has the stamina? Who can take the punches, absorb the losses, and still move forward when the other side starts to stumble? Pause. Slower tone. This will not end in a dramatic handshake that makes everyone happy. It will end quietly, when one side realizes the cost to continue is greater than the cost to concede. And that moment might not look like victory at all. Pause, leaning closer, because in this kind of war, survival is victory. Pause. When it's over, the world will be different. Supply chains will be redrawn, alliances will shift, economies will evolve, and we the spectators will be left living in the world they created while they were fighting. Pause. Final weighty delivery. So ask yourself, not whether he can win, but whether we are ready for the world that emerges if he does. A trade war is not a debate. It's not a gentleman's handshake gone wrong. It's an act of economic aggression. It is one nation saying to another, I will make it more expensive for you to play in my market, and I'm willing to take the hit myself to make you feel the pain. And when Trump launched tariffs on Chinese goods, that's exactly what it was, an economic missile strike. The goal, force China to the table on America's terms. The rhetoric was simple. We've been taken advantage of. We've been losing for too long. This ends now. Now, here's the unfiltered truth. China is not a weak opponent. They are not a desperate trader clinging to the U.S. market. They are the world's largest manufacturer, with a web of global supply chains so deep that even American companies can't function without them. From smartphones to pharmaceuticals, from steel to solar panels, the fingerprints of Chinese production are everywhere. So the moment tariffs went into play, the pain didn't stay in Beijing. It hit American importers. It hit manufacturers in Detroit. It hit retailers in Texas. And ultimately, it hit the American consumer standing in Walmart, staring at a price tag that had quietly gone up. That's the thing about trade wars. The pain doesn't only hit your opponent. It boomerangs, and it doesn't care about patriotism. It doesn't care about slogans. It lands where it lands. And China, they responded with precision. They didn't just slap tariffs back on random goods. They targeted politically sensitive sectors. Soybeans from farming states, pork from rural America, industries tied to Trump's voter base. That's not a coincidence. That's strategy. They were sending a message. We can make your people hurt too. Unfiltered truth. This was never going to be a quick win. The American system is built for fast victories and quick political payoffs. The Chinese system is built for endurance. They can plan in decades. They can take the loss today if it strengthens their hand tomorrow. And unlike American presidents, they don't have to face re-election in 4 years. This is why the notion of winning a trade war is misleading. What does winning even mean? Forcing your opponent to drop tariffs, reshaping trade agreements in your favor, weakening their economic power. Every one of those goals takes time, years, sometimes decades, to achieve. And every one of those goals comes with a cost you have to be willing to bear. And here's the uncomfortable part: America has vulnerabilities in this fight. The U.S. economy is consumption-driven. That means it needs cheap goods to keep consumers spending. Tariffs push prices up. Higher prices slow spending. Slower spending cools growth, and slower growth is political poison. China's vulnerability is different. Their economy needs foreign markets to keep their factories running. But they've been diversifying, building ties with Africa, Europe, Latin America, and Southeast Asia. Every deal they sign outside of America reduces the leverage the U.S. has over them. The truth, this war isn't really about tariffs. It's about control of supply chains, control of technological standards, control of the rules that will govern trade for the next 50 years. Tariffs are just the opening shots. The real fight is over: who will dominate in AI, 5G, rare earth minerals, and renewable energy technology. If you think this is about soybeans and steel, you're missing the point. Those are pawns in a much bigger game. So can Trump win a trade war with China? In the short term, he can score points, shake markets, force negotiations, get concessions on certain goods. But the idea of total victory, forcing China to abandon its economic model, give up on its manufacturing dominance, or surrender its technological ambitions, that's not realistic. Because here's the final truth: both sides need each other more than they will ever publicly admit. The U.S. needs China's production capacity. China needs the U.S. market. Breaking that relationship entirely would cause pain on a scale neither side can afford. That's why trade wars almost never end with one side standing tall over the other. They end in compromise, quiet face, saving compromise. Each side walks away claiming victory, even if they've both taken damage, and when it's over, the world moves on. But the landscape is never the same. Supply chains are rerouted, trust is eroded, future negotiations are harder, and both nations are more cautious and more calculating. The truth is, this isn't about whether Trump can win. It's about whether America can endure the costs long enough to force real change, and whether China will allow itself to be reshaped by outside pressure. And that's the reality nobody likes to say out loud. Winning a trade war isn't about crushing your opponent. It's about surviving the fight without breaking yourself in the process. And survival in this case may be the only real definition of victory. Let me challenge you today, not with comfort, but with confrontation. We talk about trade wars as if they're distant, sterile events, as if they're a game played by politicians and economists in conference rooms far from our lives. But let's be clear, this is not some abstract policy experiment. This is a battle that shapes the price of the food you eat, the phone in your hand, the fuel in your car. And the moment you realize that, you can no longer watch from the sidelines as if you're a spectator. Here's the challenge. Stop treating global economics like a spectator sport, because whether you know it or not, you're already in the arena. When leaders decide to impose tariffs, you feel it. When countries retaliate, you feel it. And when the dust settles, you will live in the world those decisions create. So let's strip this down to what it really is. On one side, you have a leader willing to weaponize tariffs, to take the fight to the most powerful manufacturing nation on earth. On the other, you have a giant whose strategy is built on patience, precision, and an unshakable long game. This is not about personalities, this is about systems, two fundamentally different visions of how power is built, maintained, and defended. The challenge for you is to understand the cost of each approach, not just for them, but for you. The loud, aggressive strike might feel good. It might feel decisive. It might win a news cycle. But can it last? Can it withstand the counterpunches and the quiet, deliberate endurance? It might seem passive, even weak. But is it actually the stronger play? Is it the move that outlasts all the noise? This is not about choosing sides in a political contest. This is about asking yourself, how do I want my country to play the game when the stakes are this high? Do we go in swinging, or do we build the kind of economic resilience that allows us to take the hit and keep going? Because here's the empowering truth. You have more influence than you think. Every purchase you make, every investment decision, every voice you raise in policy discussions, it all feeds into the economic machine. You can reward resilience. You can demand strategies that protect you in the long run, not just win headlines in the short term. But that requires you to think beyond today's prices and tomorrow's tweets. It requires you to look years ahead, the same way the most disciplined players in this game do. Let me ask you, what kind of legacy do you want your generation to leave? One where we were reactionary, letting emotion dictate strategy, or one where we understood the rules of the game so well that we could bend them in our favor? Because trade wars are not just about money, they are about shaping the future balance of power. Whoever wins here will not just sell more products, they will set the standards for the industries of tomorrow. Technology, energy, infrastructure, even the currency in which the world trades. That's why I challenge you to stop thinking like a consumer and start thinking like a strategist. Ask yourself, how will these battles affect where jobs are created, where innovation happens, and who controls the resources the world depends on? If we leave those questions unanswered, then we've already surrendered. Because while we're distracted by the noise, someone else is writing the rules. And when the rules are written without you in the room, you will play the game on someone else's terms. Empower yourself by learning how these systems work. Empower yourself by knowing which industries are vulnerable, which are rising, and which decisions today will decide your opportunities tomorrow. Empower yourself by refusing to be pacified by political theater. Because the people who thrive after a trade war are not the ones who waited for permission to act. They are the ones who understood that economic shifts are opportunities as much as they are threats. So here's my call to you. Don't just watch the headlines, watch the supply chains, watch the technology deals, Watch the flow of capital. The future will be built quietly, in those movements, long before it's announced to the public. And when that future arrives, I want you to be ready. Not shocked, not unprepared, but positioned to take advantage of it. Yes, this is a fight between two giants. But in every fight between giants, there's a new space created in the cracks. And in those cracks lie opportunities for the bold, for the prepared, for the ones who understand that chaos is where the next empire is born. The challenge is to stop being passive. The empowerment is knowing that the next chapter of history will be written by those who understood the game early and moved before the dust settled. So I leave you with this. Will you be the person who complains about the cost of the storm? Or will you be the one who builds in the storm so that when it clears, you're already ahead? Because history doesn't remember the spectators. It remembers the players, and the time to step onto the field is now. If winning means surviving, reshaping, and turning chaos into opportunity, then this trade war doesn't crown a victor. It exposes a crucible. It reveals which nations have the stamina, the structure, the silent resilience to reforge strength amid friction. And yes, it lays bare just how fragile our illusions of superiority can be.